David Brewster here with a new episode of 3 for All. This is 3 Michael Lee Firkins licks from 1996, and I've had some requests to feature more of Michael's music. I did feature him in a 3 for All a few years ago. I think those licks were from 1992. But definitely, Michael is a badass guitarist. I've been a big fan of his since I was in high school. And I remember that late 80s, early 90s period. I was obsessed with Shrapnel Records, artists. Racer X and Tony McAlpine and Greg Howe, Vinnie Moore. Of course, I was already into Yngwie and Satriani and Vi and players like that. Huge Racer X and, a Paul Gilbert fan right here. But I remember hearing Michael Lee Firkins' first album, and it just completely caught me off guard. I heard all these melodies and this bluesy phrasing and stuff, and I really liked it. And then right around the same time, I really got into Blue Saraceno too, and blues definitely had this bluesy, melodic edge. And I really fell in love with both those players, Michael Lee Firkins and Blue Saraceno. And I definitely love all those shred, maestros from back in the day. But there's something really special about that emotive kind of blues rock, vibe and sound. And definitely, Michael's just a monster guitarist. So Michael's currently touring in Europe right now with Chad Wackerman and Stu Hamm, and it's a tribute to Jeff Beck. It's the Freeway Jam, concert tour. And I'm not sure if they're going to bring it to the US. They're currently over in Europe touring. And I've seen some clips and posts from Michael, leading up to the tour and currently on tour. Very exciting. And that should tell you a lot as far as, Michael's ability and his respect. Touring with Wackerman and Stu Hamm, two legends for sure. And, Jeff Beck, definitely the late, great, guitarist, my all-time favorite guitarist. And here's one of my favorite players, touring in tribute to him. That's really cool. So I actually met Michael at Sweetwater. That was a Gear Fest back in 2018. And I remember I was at the pavilion, like the performance area, and I could hear somebody playing. I mean, it was like a half-mile away, but I could hear it. There's a lot of noise, there's lots of foot traffic, people are banging on drums, testing out guitars. But I could hear, somebody playing, and I was like, man, that sounds like Michael Lee Firkins. And I think I've explained this before, but I followed the sound, and he was in the Headrush, tent, like at their booth, just rocking out with the band. And sure enough, there was Michael Lee Firkins. I met him after his performance and talked to him a couple times, throughout that day. And then eventually I did have a lesson in Guitar Player magazine as a tribute to Michael, and we talked about that at Sweetwater. But that was in the April 2020 issue with Smooth Operator, and it's definitely a tribute to Michael Lee Firkins. So licks in this episode actually came from a live performance from 1996, and I'm not really sure where the performance was. It might have been somewhere in Europe. I'm not honestly sure. But I just grabbed it. It was a full concert. There was tons of stuff, great licks, and he was shredding his fingers off. But the camera angles were kind of lacking, because like the camera would pan over to the drummer right when Michael did something really flashy and cool. Then it would pan back and he's comping chords, and then it would pan to the bass player or something, So he, like whoever was filming it, like they missed some really cool, licks and phrases from Michael. And I was mainly holding out until there were like close-ups where you could really see him play. But there's some great licks and ideas in this episode. So here we go. All right, the first lick's this hybrid pick melodic phrase from the song Cactus Cruz from Michael's first album. And it's a really interesting phrase like this. One more time. So I love this. So we're basically in C sharp minor, and I want you to think of the C sharp minor pentatonic box right there. And basically he's hybrid picking, and he's grabbing this high C sharp up on the high E string, and he's basically doing, a pick note there on the A with the pick, and then hybrid picking. I'm using my middle finger there for the high E. And you're going to hammer on this F sharp to G sharp, like that. And you're going to keep picking that high E on that C sharp note. So right there you did the hammer on, and then that single B to C sharp, and you're also hybrid picking like that. And then right here, you're going to basically pull off G, F sharp to E, right? So you're playing a melody, right? But you're hybrid picking in there. And that's really interesting. comes down, you know, at the end. Like this. And I love those phrases. Definitely Michael does a lot of hybrid picking, and it's really interesting to hear that lick. But you're adding that hybrid pick note in there. Next up's a bar dip melodic phrase with some slide emulation, something like this. One more time. So now we're in E, basically, E major, and Michael's basically grabbing this B note and he's smearing the bar to kind of give it like this slide guitar emulation. Right? And you're just kind of like almost doing like a little half step kind of dip with the slide, but you're using the bar instead of the slide. Right? And then, so it's all about those like little slight dips. And you're basically dipping that B note. And then you go down and basically an octave lower and do, that's the open B, and then that G sharp fretted. And grab that D note. And you're going to dip that B and then just go back and forth between G sharp and B and kind of use the bar. Like that. And I love the bar emulation. I mean, that's definitely one of Michael's kind of signature things, and I'm sure he's doing a lot of that on the Jeff Beck, you know, tribute tour. That's a cool lick. Okay, next up's a pivot shred lick, and this is terrifying. Something like this. One more time. So we're in E still, and think of like E dominant pentatonic right here. And we've definitely talked about that scale, you know, on this channel before. So Michael's basically starting on this E note, grabbing that G sharp and that A, and then he's using this kind of, you know, B and C sharp as a pivot right there. Like that. So you're going to basically start on that E, you're going to climb up that G sharp to A, grab that B, C sharp, B, and then A, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, and then you're going to go up E, that F sharp on the high E. Right? And then right there, that's where it starts the pivot, and he's doing... And he's just alternating between that F sharp and that G note on the top right there. And right there you're going to end on that E. So really slow, it's... One more time, a little faster. And then at tempo. And it's very smooth and clean, you know, and I love licks like that. Okay, here's a bonus lick from this footage, and this is crazy. It's a slip and slide sequenced phrase like this. One more time. This is nuts, and he's basically weaving between you know, positions on the B and the high E string, and I love sequences like this. And he's doing right there on the B and the high E, starting on that C sharp, And right there, when you get to that A note, you're going to shift into B, and then pick it again, and then descend that pattern. And then right there, you're going to go up to the next position, and then shift slide into that D sharp. So, and then right there, continue the pattern, and then do it again, and then do it again. And at the end, he basically shift slides to that C sharp and hits it 3 times vibrato. Think like an aggressive Ingve, note right there. So slowly he's doing, something like that. And it's just crammed too, and the rhythm's kind of weird because you're doing that slid note and then picking it again. Something like that. Alright, that's going to wrap this episode of 3 for All with 3 Michael Lee Firkins licks from 1996. Definitely a very dynamic and expressive and impressive guitarist. He whips out all these things that confuse your eyes. It's definitely going to confuse your fingers. Hybrid picking, bar emulation, just pure, just crazy shred. He does this kind of fusion-y jazz stuff with all these chromatic ideas, thrown in. The blues rock stuff. And I've seen him play like just legit slide guitar and almost like dobro stuff too. He was doing some of that at Sweetwater, and it was blowing my mind because a lot of people just think of him with the bar emulation, but definitely Michael can whip out some brutal and just badass slide guitar stuff too. So anyway, leave some feedback and comments. Please subscribe to Night Lessons, and I'll be back before you know with more content and material. Thank you.